A billionaire father, deeply worried that his son might fall for someone who loved wealth more than love itself, chose to hide his true identity and test the heart of the young woman his son wished to marry. Disguised as a poor gatekeeper, he watched her closely, how she spoke, how she treated others, and whether kindness guided her steps when no one seemed to be watching. To his astonishment, she showed compassion, respect, and humility, never once looking down on the man she believed to be an ordinary worker. When the truth was finally revealed, the old man could not hold back his tears, confessing that her simple acts of goodness had given him hope and proved her love was genuine. The son, overwhelmed by both pride and emotion, embraced his father and fiancée as the family's story of love, honesty, and loyalty unfolded in front of all who witnessed it. With tears streaming down his face, the billionaire father admitted that his fear of betrayal had clouded his judgment, yet her compassion had proven stronger than any doubt he could hold. He grasped her hands and said that wealth could be measured in numbers, but the kindness she had shown him when he was nothing revealed the true treasure of her heart. In that moment the family was united not by fortune but by the simple undeniable power of love. The studio of life seemed to pause as emotions swirled around them. The fiancée, still trembling, spoke softly, her words steady yet filled with feeling. She explained that love to her had never been about material things or grand displays but about the soul of the person she chose to stand beside. She recalled the countless small moments she had shared with her beloved son, of the man before her, memories not defined by wealth but by laughter, patience, and support. Hearing her sincerity, the father felt his heart unclench, the weight of suspicion he had carried for so long dissolving into a profound sense of peace. The son too felt an unshakable pride in the woman he had chosen, realizing that even under the harshest test her heart had remained untainted by greed. In that instant the divide between suspicion and trust crumbled, leaving behind only a bond strengthened by truth and the promise of a future built not on fortune but on faith, respect, and unwavering love. The revelation, however, did not end with relief alone, for the father, who had lived decades surrounded by people who sought his wealth more than his wisdom, now stood face to face with a woman who valued neither his riches nor his influence but the humanity within him. And as he gazed at her he felt the sting of regret for doubting her intentions in the first place. He confessed that years of betrayal and false friendships had hardened his heart and blinded him to the possibility of pure love, yet in her actions he saw a light that pierced through his cynicism. The young woman gently reminded him that kindness needs no audience and compassion is not measured by what one stands to gain but by the heart that gives without expecting in return. Her words carried a weight that silenced even the son, who realized that the love he had found was far greater than what he had ever imagined. The father took a deep breath, his eyes wet with tears, and whispered that this moment was worth more than every fortune he had built in his lifetime. The son stepped forward, his voice unsteady but strong, as he told his father that love could not survive if it was constantly measured by wealth or tested by suspicion. He admitted that though he understood his father's fears, the act of disguising himself as a gatekeeper had nearly broken his trust. Yet seeing his fiancée's heart shine through every moment of the ordeal, the room seemed to glow with a quiet stillness as the weight of the father's words sank in, and the fiancée felt a warmth spread through her chest like a confirmation that every hardship had led to this moment. She clasped the son's hand tightly, her gaze fixed on him as though silently promising that nothing in the world could separate them again. The father, watching their fingers intertwined, remembered the days when he had first dreamed of his son finding a partner who would see beyond the gold-lined walls of their estate, and it humbled him to realize that his dream had been fulfilled in a way he could never have planned. Tears welled again in his eyes, but this time they were not born of fear or regret. They were tears of pride, gratitude, and a renewed faith in humanity. He confessed that he had spent years believing money defined value, yet in this young woman he had found proof that the rarest treasure is an uncorrupted heart. The son squeezed his fiancée's hand and promised aloud that together they would honor that truth by building a life defined not by riches but by love, patience, and compassion. The fiancée then lifted her eyes to the father and spoke with a steadiness that surprised even herself. She said that while wealth might open doors and create comfort, it could never replace the honesty and devotion that kept people truly united. Her words carried no bitterness, only sincerity, as she assured him that she would stand beside his son whether in abundance or in struggle, because what mattered most to her was the soul of the man she loved. The father felt the sincerity strike deep within him, peeling away the last remnants of doubt he had clung to for so long, and he realized that the humility of this woman was far greater than the pride of all those who had once tried to buy his approval. The son's heart swelled with emotion as he looked at her, seeing not only his future wife but the partner who would help him build a life rooted in truth and resilience. The father finally smiled through his tears, acknowledging aloud that this was the moment he had been waiting for, proof that real love could exist beyond beyond wealth, beyond deception, and beyond fear. The air around them seemed lighter now, as if the tension that had once gripped the room had dissolved into something far gentler. The father straightened his shoulders, no longer the disguised gatekeeper nor the guarded billionaire, but simply a man grateful to have witnessed the purity of love before him. He admitted that in all his years of business triumphs and financial conquests he had never felt as rich as he did in that moment, watching two souls bound together by devotion rather than desire for status. The fiancée moved closer, her hand brushing against his arm in a gesture of respect and reassurance, reminding him that family was not built on contracts or fortunes but on trust and kindness. The son nodded in agreement, his voice steady as he promised his father that he and his beloved would carry forward the lessons of this day, choosing always to lead with compassion rather than pride. And for the first time in a very long while the father felt his heart lighter than gold, for he realized that legacy was not measured in wealth but in the love he left behind. The father then drew a deep breath as if releasing years of guarded suspicion, and he looked at them not as a man of fortune but as a father who longed for peace within his family. His words came slowly yet with profound weight as he told them that love which survives trials is the strongest foundation any union could rest upon. He admitted he had once believed money could shield his son from pain, but now he understood that true protection lay in the loyalty of the woman standing before him. The fiancée bowed her head humbly, her eyes glimmering with quiet strength, while the son tightened his grasp on her hand, feeling a sense of pride that filled his chest. The father felt tears returning, yet this time they were born of joy, not doubt, and he told them that they had given him something no wealth could ever buy: a renewed belief in the goodness of hearts and the unshakable beauty of real love. As the final words lingered in the air, the fiancée stepped closer and with gentle courage placed her hand over the father's trembling one, her voice calm yet powerful as she declared that love should never have to prove itself through disguise or wealth, but should be seen in the everyday gestures that reveal the heart. The father felt the warmth of her touch and realized that he had not only gained a daughter-in-law but also a daughter of spirit whose presence had softened the walls he had built over years of mistrust. The son looked between them, overwhelmed by the harmony that had finally replaced doubt, and he whispered that this was the family he had always hoped to see, united not by power or privilege but by faith in each other. The father lifted his eyes heavenward as though silently thanking the universe for granting him this truth, and when he returned his gaze to the young couple before him he smiled through his tears, knowing that his fortune would one day fade but the legacy of love forged in this moment would outlast even the grandest empire. The silence that followed was not empty but full of unspoken promises and quiet gratitude. The fiancée rested her head lightly on the son's shoulder while the father watched them with a heart that finally knew rest. He thought back on the years he had spent guarding his wealth, building walls of caution around his life, only to learn that the greatest treasure had nothing to do with riches or possessions. It was the rarest thing of all, an unselfish love that asked for nothing in return. The son turned to his father, his voice steady yet tender as he said that from this day forward they would live not to chase fortune but to honor the truth that had been revealed here. The father nodded slowly, feeling pride surge within him like a tide washing away years of suspicion and loneliness. He opened his arms and drew them both close, declaring that together they would carry this bond into the future as a reminder that real wealth lies not in the empire one builds but in the hearts that choose to stand beside you even when you have nothing. The fiancée lifted her face from the son's shoulder and spoke with a glow in her eyes that seemed to light the room. She said that what mattered most was not the test she had passed nor the fortune that awaited them but the chance to build a life rooted in honesty and kindness. Her words flowed with such certainty that even the father felt as though a new chapter had begun for his family, one free from fear and shadow. He confessed softly that he had long forgotten what it felt like to trust so completely, and now through her actions and sincerity he had been reminded that love was still the purest force on earth. The son squeezed her hand, his heart swelling with gratitude, and he promised aloud that every day they would honor that purity by treating each other with patience, respect, and devotion. The father listened to their vows with tears shining in his eyes, and for the first time in many years he felt that the legacy he would leave behind was not the vast fortune he had built but the unbreakable bond of love and family that now stood before him.